Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I want to share with you some basics of oil pastel art so that you could start your own creative journey with this absolutely amazing art material. First, let's talk about oil pastels. Oil pastels are little pieces of pigment mixed with wax and also some oils. Here is an important thing that you should see the difference between oil pastels and crayons. And I want to show you this difference real quick, because if you have seen oil pastel art before, you've probably noticed that it looks very smooth, very rich in color, and reminds of oil painting. When you work with crayons, you will not get this result. Here is a red colored oil pastel. While applying it looks very smooth, it's very soft. It feels a little bit like drawing with butter. And here is a crayon. I don't know if you can hear it, but it even makes some noise while drawing. It kind of scratches the paper a little bit. It's less smooth and it's also less creamy. Like when I apply oil pastel, there is immediately some kind of layer of this material. And when you apply a lot, you can visibly see how your oil pastel stick gets smaller. And when you apply crayons, it's only a very thin layer which comes to the paper, so you can't really fill the paper the same way you would do with oil pastels. But if this is not that critical, the mixing is where it gets very difficult. If I add some other color to this oil pastel piece, let's say I add some yellow, like this, I can blend it very easily. It blends beautifully. You see the two colors are perfectly combined and some kind of new light orange color is there to see. But if I add some yellow to the crayons, nothing happens. Like nothing. If I try to mix it, also nothing happens. You can mix oil pastels beautifully. You can mix it. And here with crayons, you have absolutely no possibility to mix them. When you buy yourself oil pastels, make sure that you are really buying something which is marked as oil pastel and not just any colorful stick. So you want to buy oil pastels, which ones should you get? I would say the main and most important things about oil pastels is that your oil pastels are rich in color, smooth and creamy, so that when you apply them, you really feel this nice texture coming off your stick right to the paper. Like I am putting these lines on the paper and I'm absolutely enjoying it. It feels so nice. So your oil pastels should not scratch the paper. They should not be too full. They should not be too dry as well. And let's talk about brands. There are many good brands. One of the most, I would say, respected brand for oil pastels is Mungyo. These are their oil pastels for artists. I know they also have some special edition for artists, like very professional edition. I want to buy this for myself sometime soon. I don't have it here, but I will blend in a picture how these pastels look like. But trust me, these are also nice enough. They are good enough to work with. Another option I have here, these are oil pastels from a local art store in Germany where I buy my stuff. They're very cheap and actually they're pretty nice. Like if we test the Mungyo, the ones I have at least, and these local art store pastels, we will see that the differences are not insane. I mean, this is a local art store stick and this is Mungyo. I would even say that the local art store is kind of softer, so it feels a little bit nicer. I know, my Mungyo pastels are not the best Mungyo pastels out there. But anyways, as long as your oil pastels are soft, creamy and rich in color, it doesn't matter how expensive they are. What matters is how many colors you have. The more colors you have, the easier it is to create art pieces. Of course, it does not mean that if you have only 8 or 10 or 12 colors, like I do, that you can't do art or that you're limited. No, of course you can. This piece was created with these 12 colors, and I think it's a nice piece. I think it deserves to exist in this world. So don't get discouraged if you feel that you don't have enough oil pastels. Just work with what you have, and if you feel that this material makes you happy, maybe invest into buying a bigger set of oil pastels. Of course, I also have a bigger set of oil pastels as well. I think these are, how many? 36 colors. I have 36 colors here. For the start, buy yourself a small set, a normal set. Don't spend too much money. Try it out. Just see how it feels to work with oil pastels. And as soon as you are sure that this material brings you joy, buy some more colors. Well, how do you exactly work with oil pastels? I mean, it's pretty easy, like intuitive. You would just add colors and then layer them. At some point you would want to smudge them, to mix them. And here's the big question: how do you mix the colors? The natural thing which comes to mind is just to use your hands, which is perfectly fine. I mean, we all started here, and I also use my hands every now and then when I do my art. But the problem here is that when you create a piece, you will probably have a lot of colors happening in every corner, and you don't have so many fingers, or you would have to wash your hands every 5 minutes, because other way you'll just create mud. If you first smudge, for example, something green in the grass and then go to the sky, you'll just ruin it. You see, I already have some red dots on my fingers. I have no idea how that happened, but the smudging is not so clean. Instead of using my hands, I prefer using palette knives. This is how they look like. These are my palette knives. And I also have such nice soft tips for my palette knives. I have them separately. I have bought them separately. Don't ask me where, somewhere on the internet. For any reason you don't have them or don't want to have them, it's also not a big deal. You can totally mix your oil pastels with just a palette knife. These soft tips make it a little bit smoother, a little bit nicer, but they are not the game changer. Like here, you see, I can totally mix that with a palette knife. And while mixing, a little bit of oil pastels always collects on the side of my palette knife. Don't be wasteful, don't throw it away, just press it gently back onto your painting and kind of tap, 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 tap these parts back into your illustration. Palette knife is not the only option for mixing. As I said previously, you could use your hands, or you could use a paper towel, or even a cotton swab. Both are okay. I personally prefer palette knives because they give such a nice texture, which I will show you just in a minute. But if you have nothing at all at home, better use this than nothing. So you have to start somewhere, right? And you can definitely start with a cotton swab. I'll show you very, very quickly how it looks like. You see the texture is a little bit different. Also, these nice scratches are not there because the cotton swab is kind of softer, and you can't really pull off the pieces of oil pastel which stick to the cotton swab. So your smudging will be more wasteful, and you'll also have to use a lot of cotton swabs for all the different colors. I mean, at least one for the blue, one for the greens, etc. Because if you don't, you will risk adding mud. Here I'm smudging the reds with my cotton swab, which I used to mix blues, and it looks kind of muddy, and we don't need mud in our artwork. So if you work with cotton swabs, make sure that you have enough to mix separate colors. First of all, palette knives are very, very nice to create grass, for example. I mean, you can just mix the colors like this, like I showed you before. Like blue, and darker blue, and you mix. And nothing interesting happens. But you can also create textures. Let's see how it works. Here I add some yellow and then some green on the top. And I mix, but I also press a little bit on my palette knife. And I move it in different directions, like I hold it not only like this, but also diagonally, and also like this, vertically. And I'm kind of mixing and scratching and mixing and scratching. It looks like a pattern, it looks like a texture, like grass. But let's add another layer. Let's see what happens if we add a little bit of brown and a little bit of olive green, for example. I mean, that's the beauty of oil pastels. You can add as much as you want. You can smudge as much as you want. It's a very forgiving material. Like, if something goes wrong, you can just scratch it off, or you can smudge a little bit more, or just add another layer. And that's why I absolutely adore oil pastels. They're so fun to work with. And this is an interesting color, and this is an interesting texture. You see here on the top, we have some yellow coming through. Here we have a fuller area with darker olive green and also some parts of brown, which looks like the earth. And also these strokes, I could not draw them intentionally. They just happened because I worked with a palette knife, and this is the spontaneous beauty of this technique. So I highly recommend that you buy some kind of a palette knife and just give it a try with oil pastels. I'm very sure that you're gonna enjoy it. Goodbye, my beautiful grass. Goodbye. And then you can put it back on your paper, on your piece, and just tap it. Tap it gently. And look what happens. We have another nice texture. Like, I can totally imagine this being on top of a tree, like the leaves of the tree. Because if you start just drawing the leaves on somewhere on your tree, it may look very natural very soon. But if you just tap on it with a palette knife, like if you smudge, it will just disappear. But if you tap lightly, you will combine your new layer of oil pastel with your previous layer and also create some unintentional texture. This just looks beautiful. I love it. I mean, I can totally imagine this in some of my artworks. And now let's talk about paper and formats. I think the best formats for oil pastels are smaller formats because there is a lot of smudging happening, a lot of layers, a lot of searching for colors. And also the sticks are small, so you would need a lot of these sticks to create like a free picture. But the good news are you can use the format you love, like there are absolutely no rules. So let me just show you some examples of my work so that you know how I do that. You know this picture already. It's very simple. I think it's a A5 format, if I'm not mistaken. Sometimes I also use colored paper. I also did this one recently. You may have seen it on my shorts. And this, as you can see, oil pastels are also absolutely suitable to create more realistic art, which I love because it has this potential to, on one side, create some smudged and I would say foggy elements, and on the other side some very sharp and thin details. Today I will work in this sketchbook. I want to draw something on this tiny format because, I mean, sometimes I just don't have time for a bigger piece, and with oil pastels it's so easy to create. You don't really need much. You can just do art. I also recorded a very nice tutorial where I show how I work with oil pastels, but it got a little bit too long, so I decided to post it separately. So here the basics of oil pastels are over. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next video with a tutorial.